Good evening from PLUGHITZ Studios in Largo, Florida. I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we are here with episode 525 of F5 Live, refreshing technology, for Sunday, April 7th, 2019. This show is a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. This week, Apple's lowering their price, Microsoft's raising their benefits, and Google is shrinking their offerings. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, on any of our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Periscope, Mixer, Twitch, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, or on any of the podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podcast Play app in the Windows Store, the myriad of others like Spotify, TuneIn, or of course on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are two ways that you can do that, like we said. First is Sunday nights at about 9 p.m. Eastern. You can join us live by going to f5live.tv/join us. And there you can chat with us in the studio while we talk about our topics. Avram and I always like to hear what the viewers think about what it is we're talking about. The best way to do that is either Mixer, Twitch, and YouTube. Those are the best ways for us to see them. And again, f5live.tv/join us will take you right to that. Or if you can't join us live, that's okay. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe, and you'll see this show and all of our other ones that are available, and all of the many ways that you can subscribe and follow along. And with that, I think that's the spiel. Avram, how have you been, my friend?
Pretty good. Lots of new tech stuff to play with. I'll show you one of the things that I've got this week during my segment. But lots of new toys, literally things that are kind of for kids. I've been testing lately, so so it's been a busy but fun week.
Well, that's good. I've had a similar kind of a week myself. I've been doing all kinds of reviews and publishes this week, so it's definitely been a crazy start to the second quarter of the year. I don't know if we've got any like announcements or upcoming things that I can think of. And how is your project coming along? Have you had any time to work on it?
Which project? The controller?
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, my son and I made some progress last night. Although this time we were using a regular Raspberry Pi rather than the Zero. Because I wasn't working, but I think it may not be the Zero's fault. It may just be how I had these wires in.
Gotcha.
And we got this joystick here to work. Now I'm trying to figure out. I had in the past been able to get this to control his Lego Batmobile, or been able to get a Raspberry Pi to control it, but I lost whatever code I had for that, so I'm trying to figure out how to do it again, and it wasn't working for me. So I got the joystick working, so now it's recognizing the joystick. So the goal is to marry the two, where it'll send a Bluetooth signal out to his Lego Booster, Lego Batmobile, which are both use sort of Lego's power-up motors, and then use the joystick to control what direction the motor is, and then I can put buttons on to actually like make it do other functions. But it's actually a big pain to get a joystick to work. I mean, look how many wires you have to put just to get a joystick.
That's definitely a lot going on that breadboard. That's what I was thinking while you were holding it up.
You know why? For those who don't know, so Raspberry Pi is the greatest computer in the world, but it has the most annoying flaw it has for those who use it as makers is it doesn't have a built-in analog to digital converter.
Mm-hmm.
And Arduino has one, but Raspberry Pi does not. So if you want to use something that is an analog signal, like a joystick or a potentiometer, which I have potentiometer I was testing it with over here too, a dial, you need an analog to digital chip. So I have one of these here. And so that chip requires like 8 wires to go 8 wires or something. And then the joystick itself requires like four wires. So it just really adds up the proliferation of wires.
Yeah.
And if I were to try and make this a permanent, first of all, it's very easy for these little cables to pop out. So this isn't exactly in a good, it's a kind of in a precarious position to actually use. But once I actually get it working, then the next step will be to try and like solder it together in some way, which is actually much harder for me than doing this because I'm not really good at the soldering stuff. But like, putting the wires through a PCB. But once I can actually get it working in this prototype, then at least I'll know what I'm working with and can try to do it.
Well, it obviously anytime you have to have that many wires, it always feels more chaotic than it actually is. When you get down to a
there
PCB,
could be more.
Yeah, right. When you get down to a PCB level, it'll look different than that, but I totally understand.
There could very well be more because, if I want to put some buttons on here, to do other functions that these things do, besides the joystick, maybe a stop and go or something like that. That's more wires. So, yeah, it's a crazy amount of wires.
And breadboards are obviously never the best way to show off. They're the best way to prototype. They're definitely not the best way to show off unless you're trying to make it look very prototypey, in which case a breadboard's perfect. Well, all right. With that, let's get down to some news. What do you say? No, what am I... I'm having a little bit of panic mode over here tonight. This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new tablet, a laptop, an Xbox One S or X, right now with the Gears of War 4 bundle, you can save $60 and get a free game. But there's way more than that. There's VR and AR headsets. There's phones, including the Samsung Galaxy S10, and a whole lot more, all available by going to f5live.tv/Microsoft. I have no idea why I played your video intro when I turned that music on. It's going to be one of those nights for those of you who are watching live, and again, I apologize. All right, so smart speakers are definitely a big part of our lives. Avram and we talked about this a little bit last week, and we've talked a little bit about how there's some dangers to it, but one of the dangers that we didn't talk about was buying into hardware or an ecosystem that may or may not provide value. For example, if you were somebody who bought one of the Harman Kardon Invokes with Cortana on it, and maybe you bought it at its original retail price at $200, I apologize, because they're $50 right now. And a great Bluetooth speaker, by the way, but that's about where it ends for most people. If you buy into an ecosystem that isn't robust, the money can seem ludicrous. And if you're not dealing with Alexa or Google Assistant on a smart speaker, you're really not getting a whole lot of value because, while Microsoft on Cortana does have skills, there haven't been as many things built for it as Alexa or Google Assistant. And then you've got Siri on the HomePod, which standalone-wise does not seem to have any extensibility. So all you get is the things that Apple wants you to have, which, there's HomeKit, and there's a whole lot of smart home things that can be controlled through HomeKit. And, you can get the weather from Apple, you can get the news from Apple, you can get traffic from Apple. but you can't really get all of those third-party, like, robust experiences, like asking it to play podcasts from Spotify, for example, or something like that. Listening to live radio through TuneIn. Just all that extensibility stuff just isn't there. And Apple has this week recognized that their sales have not been great and dropped the price of the HomePod by $50, but they have not solved the reason why people aren't buying. That's my opinion.
Yeah, so that's going to do no good.
Yeah, because again, a $50 Harman Kardon Invoke still doesn't mean anything.
It's actually kind of really sad how Apple has really blown the assistant market, because they had the first mover advantage, right? I mean, people were using Siri on their phones before they were using Google Assistant, before Alexa was in people's homes.
There were a couple that were out there before they bought Siri, but certainly Apple made people aware that the concept even existed. It was mostly developers who were messing with it before Apple bought Siri.
Right. So they popularized the technology, the concept, and then it completely got away from them.
Yeah, it did.
Which really shows just real, kind of incompetence. Like they really, I mean, when you look at what's going on with Alexa and Google Assistant, but I think what was the smart move that Google and Amazon made is to try and, well, first of all, they got into very inexpensive products. Second of all, they also, to a greater extent, Amazon allowed a lot of other companies. They didn't try to do a walled garden. They worked closely with a lot of other companies. There's a million different things now with Alexa in them. There's several things with Google Assistant in them, although not as many as Alexa. And and of course they work with all those third-party services. So Apple's walled garden has become its undoing in this case. They really could have made Siri. They had the opportunity to make Siri what Alexa is now, but Apple being Apple, they don't want to be for everyone. Right. Like Amazon wants an Alexa in every home. But Apple does not want an iPhone in every pocket or a HomePod in every home. Or a HomePod in every home. There's a level below which they won't drop in terms of price and not to say they're a super exclusive club, but there's a level of exclusivity there with Apple products. Yeah, and there always has been. And it's not the first time we've seen a tech company try this strategy. Look at Sony of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. They played the same game, and in about 2001, that concept kind of came crashing down on them but they tried to fight standardized cabling and things, which at least Apple has partially embraced. USB-C as the end all be all for the laptops and things like that, which Sony of the 90s wouldn't have done. But, yeah, right. And everything says that 2019 is going to stay Lightning, which means that 2020 will stay Lightning too, since the designs always come in pairs, which is sad. But yeah, it's the same kind of thing. Sony fought the HDMI cable. Like, they wanted only their own proprietary things, so you had to have a Sony TV and a Sony surround sound system and a Sony DVD player, and they wanted everything to be their own. And where are they today? I don't even know that they make TVs today. You know what I mean? They have lost that market to Samsung entirely. And hey, Apple is losing markets to both Samsung and to Amazon/Google for trying to play similar games, keeping it all in house. And it seems like they're going down that same path to me. Yeah. In this case, though, it's really harmful to them because I think people probably want the same assistant on all of their devices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's a legit desire that people have.
Yeah.
But no one's really fulfilling that because you can sort of get Alexa on Windows, but you have to ask Cortana to get it for you.
Uh-huh.
Which here's my prediction. I think Cortana's going to be gone. I think they're going to get rid of Cortana, and I think people will have the ability to set Alexa as the default.
Yeah, I think Cortana becomes the brand name on Azure for the voice services and stuff like that, which it already is. But I think all the libraries for the Azure stuff are all called Cortana, and I think that ends up being where she lives.
But that's kind of sad because now what Microsoft is really saying is like we couldn't hack it in this kind of important space. Like, it's easy to give up on things that you can't do well because there's a leader in the market. But they
were there before Amazon and Google, and they blew it too.
Right. So I guess what you're getting around to here is Apple at some point going to give up on Siri? It seems like they're not putting the resources into making Siri better.
So one of the things that I have always found interesting about Apple is that they do not concede defeat on anything. They keep things around way after their value is over. They're still producing iPods, which seems like doesn't it seem like that was probably discontinued 3 or 4 years ago? But no, they keep things around. They don't like to admit that something's over.
Well, did I say on the air last week that I met 2 people last weekend who were still using AOL?
Yes.
Okay, so
I think you mentioned that on there.
There's people who will buy old stuff.
Uh-huh.
There's probably still people buying iPods.
There must be.
Oh.
I understand they wanted to get to the 10-year anniversary. I got that. They did the big 10-year anniversary iPod and all that. I get that. But you know what? I didn't expect an 11th. I thought it was going to be canceled that year, but no. And I think that's where Siri is right now. I think it's in the bullheaded Apple stage where they've kind of given up on it, but they don't want to admit to anybody that they've given up on it. Because like you said, there don't seem to be any resources put behind it. Their AI, the people in their AI division seem to all pop up at other companies every couple of months. You hear, Amazon just hired so-and-so who used to be an AI person for Siri at Apple. And, I don't think they're putting anything behind it, but I don't think they're ever going to admit defeat on it. It's just like having Cortana stay in Windows 10, even though in the next version her position is relegated to second-class citizen. She's still there.
Yeah, see, I think, and I know we're going to talk about this in another segment, it does kind of lend you the question of, can you trust that your brand is going to stick with these? Going to stick with it. As a user, should I be investing my time in Cortana?
Right.
When, should I have bought the hardened carbon Evoke? Knowing that it was the first of its kind, when I don't know whether the company is going to have a solid commitment to this product.
Right. At least. And we'll talk about this a little later, but at least with Microsoft, there's always a transition plan behind a failed thing. When, like we said, Alexa will almost certainly take over Cortana's bar on Windows 10 and probably get put onto the Invoke, and has already been put onto the Johnson Controls Glass as a secondary voice assistant for that product too. So. Microsoft always has a transition, but we'll talk in more detail about that later. So that's, I don't know where the HomePod's going, and I don't think Apple does either. I think that's the takeaway there. This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by Newegg. Whether you're building a new computer or upgrading an existing one, Newegg has all the parts and pieces to make it happen, from motherboards and processors to RAM and power supplies and cases and even full-built systems. Newegg's got it all, and stuff you may not expect, such as smart LED light bulbs, or sometimes kitchen equipment, and all kinds of interesting stuff can show up, especially in the daily deals, which right now they have got a Roseville optical mouse for $20. They've got a pretty great deal on a Seagate 2TB hard drive, and a whole lot more. And to find all of those daily deals, and of course to see all of the products that are available, you can go to piltchpoint.live/Newegg. All right, so Avram, I know that you've got something to show us tonight, which I think is everybody's favorite, is when you've got something interesting to show.
So, as you know, I have particular interest in stuff that teaches kids about computers and teaches kids about technology.
Indeed.
I've talked on the air before about the Kano computer kit, which my son and I built. And here we have another product called the Hack Computer. Now, the Hack Computer here, if you look at it, is an ASUS 14-inch notebook. It is technically the ASUS E406MA for those keeping track of all the ASUS model numbers at home. It is a notebook that is 14 inches, 1080p, Pentium processor, 4 gigs of RAM, and 64 gigs of eMMC memory, and a pretty decent battery life. But the hardware of the notebook is not really where it's at. What it is it comes with this special software, the Hack software, which is supposed to teach kids a bit about computers and programming. And here's the desktop. A little hard to see here. It looks very greenish when it's actually not that greenish in real life. Well, maybe it is. Why is it looking so green? I think because I changed the background. Anyway, so what you do in this, try to get this to where it should be, is there's this whole section here where there's like a little thing on the side with these characters, and the characters sort of give you little missions to do. Oh. And it's so hard to see with the light here. Hold on, let me see if I can do something about this. If I don't have so much light on my computer itself, maybe that will work better. Okay. Maybe. All right. So anyway, you click on these characters and they tell you to do stuff. And one of the things they tell you to do, for example, here, I'll click here. They'll say, like, let's keep working on this project or whatever. And all the characters have different things that they want you to do. Okay. And then they involve using a couple of games that are on here. One of these is called Physics or something. And it's like this game with all these like little dots and things like that. And to win the game, what you've got to do is you've got to hack it. So there's a little thing over on the side here that you click, and it flips around, and then you see code, and you can sort of modify it to modify the game to make it easy for yourself to win. So they start off with just like you flipping these levers, and then they get you into actually typing in the box with the code. So there's a couple of games like that. Then the other thing that's interesting is, and you have to unlock stuff. So like my son was really excited when he unlocked the ability to change the cursor on this. So now the cursor is a piece of poop. But
of course it is.
No, actually, I made it poop for this. He had it as a little guy, but I thought it'd be fun fun to show everybody the poop cursor. Anyway, but if you go in here to this part called system here, you'll see that it like shows you different parts of the computer, and you click on them and it tells you about them. Although I have to say that for something that's designed for 8 and up, it's a little overwritten. So like, for example, there's this whole part here about the cursor, I think, and it tells you like, you know, it has a couple of characters like have a little dialogue about the cursor that you read on the screen, and one of them says something like, cursor comes from the Latin word currere, to run. Like, I don't know how many 8-year-olds or even older kids really need to know the Latin root word of cursor. You know, I think they were a little overly ambitious with that kind of stuff. But the concept here is that they're teaching you about the inside of the computer. Now, it runs a version of Linux called Endless Linux, which is supposed to be friendly for kids. You can install other Linux apps on it. It's an app store. And the concept is that this stuff is like episodes. Although I have to say we got through episode 1 in like an hour. I teach you these different things, and then supposedly every month you download a new episode, and what they're trying to do is to sell a subscription for $10 a month for this. So the computer itself is $300, and depending on where and when you buy it, you may get 12 months of the subscription free, but then if you want to keep getting updates after that, you have to pay $10 a month, and they'll just keep giving you these new kind of fun lessons. So we found, my son is 6 and he's really enjoying it. But it has, it is teaching him a bit, although it is not teaching them an actual programming language because all the stuff is sort of proprietary to what they're doing. And some of the plot, like I said, with these characters is a little too cute for its own good, like teaching people the root word and also teaching them things about the computer that I'm not necessarily sure they need to know. Like, there are things I didn't know, like it's teaching you about what the dev null folder is in Linux. Do most people need to know that even if they're programming? I don't know. So do they need to know all about the kernel and the memory manager? Like, I feel like they might be better off just learning like how to write Python code or something. But it's definitely an interesting attempt. The artwork is great. It's done in a very sort of advanced, cute way. And the $300, the laptop alone is probably, I didn't find this laptop for sale by itself, but a laptop of this quality, it's got 1080 screen and all that.
Oh,
probably worth at least $250 to $300 by itself.
Okay.
So although $250 to $300 by itself, you'd probably be getting it with Windows,
right?
And this is coming with Linux, but it's really quite a decent quality piece of hardware. The the software, at least the first couple episodes, like I said, it's fun, but I would have liked to see a little bit more focus on on programming and less on sort of the intricacies of the operating system and the Linux operating system, and then like the root words that things are based on. But they do a good job of gamifying things, so you unlock different stuff. And I'm kind of really curious to see where it goes with future episodes, that they're going to put on to try and build out the content. It's definitely very, very interesting product. I encourage people to check it out. I'll be putting up a review of this shortly on Tom's Hardware. It is a lot of fun. And if you look at it as, I'm getting my kid their first laptop, and I'm willing to install I want them to use some of the other software on here, besides just the episodes, which right now is not a ton of hours of content. It could be a good first device for a kid.
Okay, so it's more involved than the old like Casio or whoever made them, not really laptops where you just had like a dog barking at you how to spell things. This is obviously way above that. This is a real computer doing real things and having a whole educational plan behind it.
Yeah, the educational plan. I mean, it's good. Like I said, it leaves some room for improvement, and as they're updating and adding more stuff. Mm-hmm. And I would have liked to see them preload more software onto here. Mm-hmm. There's an app store where you could download stuff, but good. They don't really like it comes in the, when you first turn it on, you're getting like Google Chrome and a word processor or something and a calculator and and the apps that they have.
Sure.
For you to learn from. So it would have been nice if they put some games on there or whatever. Maybe they're trying not to confuse people by putting on too much stuff. But of course, one of the first things I did was went and install a Linux terminal on there, but maybe that won't be what kids do. But considering the level that they're trying to teach to you, they probably should come with a Linux terminal preloaded. Yeah. Because they're not dumbing it down.
Yeah, that was the thing that I found kind of interesting, is that they're really kind of diving into not like, look, here's how you code a little bit. Like a lot of the educational platforms, they're giving you like a systems 101 course.
Yeah, it seems a little highbrow to me at times. Like I said, telling people the Latin root word or getting into parts of the operating system that even if you were programming or using computers a lot, you probably wouldn't understand. Like, I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't admit this on air, I guess, but I still don't totally understand how kernels work, like, or how, all the intricacies of the dev null folder. Like, you could be a very advanced computer user and not have a great understanding of those things. Sure. And be just fine. So, so it's interesting. I'd like to see them build it out with more practical stuff that actually helps you learn, like, skills that you would probably use, but they do have that in the sense that they're making you reprogram these apps, and the fun thing is, like, my son immediately got it that, like, here's this game and now I've got to hit this button, it flips around to the code mode and now I'm hacking it. And he loved that idea.
Yeah. Oh, I would imagine so. That, especially as a kid, that idea of there's a special button that I can change the game. Woo!
Yeah, exactly. And they don't just like, and to their credit, unlike a lot of tutorial things I see where it's just like, oh, here you can just do what you want and we're not going to give you any advice. Like, there actually it is scripted, and there are characters, on the screen are like, now can you try this? Now try that. So they're stepping you through it, and you unlock different steps where you can do different things. Oh. So it's not like a lot of products that I've seen where it's like, oh, hey, here's a block-based code language. Now just go program something, okay? We're not going to tell you what to do.
Yeah, have fun, bye-bye.
Have fun, bye-bye. I mean, this definitely gives you the hand-holding that I think you should have.
Sure, especially if we're talking about, it being an early educational platform. It's not for college students. It's for kids.
Definitely not.
Although it is getting into some college level, like, intricacies occasionally, it sounds like. But it's not a college student thing. It's here. How about this? Not here's a bunch of stuff. Have fun. We're off.
Yeah, the funny thing is, as an editor, I kind of wanted it to edit it. Like, listen, guys, you're pitching a little above the audience with some of the blurbs that you have. But it's definitely pretty cool, and I would suggest people check it out. And even just as I think the coolest thing that my son has gotten out of it so far is that, like, he's sitting there regularly using a laptop and moving around the cursor and using the keyboard. And he was doing that a bit with his Kano computer, but the laptop form factor is so much better for that. And, like, so he's getting a feel of, like, using a computer,
Right.
in a kid-friendly environment.
Yeah, that sounds like a great benefit of the platform. You said it runs 300, and we'll see a review soon?
Yeah, yes.
Very cool. Well, as always, Avram, I love it when you do hands-on things, and this one was a lot of fun. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by Razer. All the accessories you need to up your game on PC and console are available from Razer. Whether you're looking for a new keyboard or mouse, gaming headphones, or a full system like the Razer Blade 15 Advanced, on sale for $300 off right now. You can find all of the deals and all of the products by going to f5live.tv/Razer. Heard a little bit of laughing in the background. That was fun. Anyway, so I think we all know about the Xbox Game Pass, which has been one of probably Microsoft's biggest pushes on the Xbox side in a while. For $10 a month, you get unlimited access to 100 or more games that rotate out occasionally. And so you can play and experience big name games. They made a policy to bring big first party titles at launch, like Sea of Thieves. The day it launched, it was in Game Pass, which was a really big deal. They have officially added Minecraft to Game Pass. And if the rumors hold true, we will be seeing some new features come to the Game Pass brand in the next couple months. In fact, 2 new versions. The first being Game Pass Ultimate, which will combine the Game Pass, which is normally $10 a month, and Xbox Live, which if you pay by the month is $10 a month, into a single subscription at $15 a month, which is the same price as Game Pass and Xbox Live if you pay by the year. So you can get the benefit of the annual price without having to pay $60 up front, which is I think a really great move. And now that we know that, with Xbox Live capability coming to a whole lot more places, the game bar is really taking off on PC. We're seeing, more merging of the Xbox and PC experiences, with the entire Halo suite now being available on PC and things like that. Having Xbox Live bundled like this, I think, is a really great deal. What do you think, Avram?
Yeah, I mean, make it make it cheaper. It's obviously everybody wants service revenue. Mm-hmm. So Microsoft is doing what they can to get more people to subscribe.
Sure. And Game Pass is on its own is a great deal. And then the ability to not have to pay the full $60 a year up front and still get the price on a monthly basis, I think is a pretty great deal. And we talked that there are 2 things probably coming. The second one is Game Pass for PC, which I think is a really great move for Microsoft. Again, the idea that the Xbox and PC experience is blurring a lot down the middle. The ability to play games on PC as part of your Game Pass subscription, I think, was a natural and logical next step for the Game Pass brand. The fact that it hasn't already launched is actually a bit of a surprise to me, considering how much of a big deal Microsoft has made about the Game Pass. The fact that it's taken this long to come to PC is a little bit of a surprise, although we are now just kind of now seeing that big Xbox game push over to PC. So maybe it does make sense that it's taken a little while, but they're looking to be a player over there, and something like Game Pass might be the thing to get people really engaged on that side of things. I think you're muted, Avram.
I'm looking through here, and I see that there's like maybe 36 games in Game Pass. Is that, you really have to like some of these 36 games, don't you?
36 games, really?
I mean, I'm looking on the Xbox site. Maybe there's more, but when I look on, are these just featured games? I don't know.
I don't know, because I know at one point there was like 100 or so games available. Oh, featured. Yeah. Show all games. There are 12 pages at 20 games per page.
Oh, okay. So I guess 100 games, you're gonna find some things that hopefully gonna find some things that you like.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the collection in here. I mean, it's everything from like Crackdown and Fallout to Minecraft. There's new titles like We Happy Few there, and Life is Strange 2. There's older titles in here as well. There's really like a wide variety of stuff that they've made available through this service on Xbox, and so I have a feeling that it will be just as good when it comes to PC. I'm hoping. Like Sunset Overdrive is in here, which was an Xbox One launch title. So literally as old of a game as you can have on Xbox One is in here.
Yeah.
And then super new stuff as well. So I think there's I think there'll be a lot of interest in this on PC, so long as they can maintain this kind of catalog. If they only have like a dozen or so games when it comes to PC, I think they'll have some trouble gaining traction. But if they can have whatever this works out to, 230 games or however many this is, I think it'll be a big win for them. And I think more importantly, I think it'll be a big win for gamers, because that's $60 per title thing, and you play it for a little while and you put it aside and maybe you never go back to it, and everybody knows that you get screwed going to GameStop and trading in games. So so many people just don't do it, and you just end up with a collection of games that you're not playing. This gives you that ability to not have to have that big long collection of games you're not playing, because it rotates out so frequently. And when we get the new Xbox, probably just after E3, the all digital edition, which could come right after E3, or it could come as soon as next month. There's no disc drive. Something like Game Pass, I think, is going to be a big deal for owners of that console. So we don't know. Again, both of these things are rumors, but both of them make sense. We don't know when we'll hear about either one. My guess is that Ultimate we'll hear about when the all-digital edition of the Xbox One S launches in the very near future. And I think that the Game Pass for PC will probably happen at E3, no matter what the other winds say. This week's news from the tubes and F5 Live is Proudly powered by RiffTrax. Make fun of movies or let these guys do it for you. Mike Nelson, Bill Corbett, and Kevin Murphy, the former stars of Mr. Science 3000, are back doing what they do best, making fun of Hollywood blockbusters and B-movie oddities, such as Scared to Death. Oh boy, that looks bad. The way it usually works is for a couple bucks, you download the MP3, play it along with your DVD, Netflix, Amazon, wherever the movie happens to live, and laugh. They also do live events a couple times a year. The next one is April 24th. It's Octoman. And to find out what theaters you can see it in and what full-length feature films are available, you can go to f5live.tv/rifftracks with an X. All right. So we talked earlier that we would talk about trust in platforms a little later in the show, and this is our opportunity to do so. And the reason is because this past week saw the death of two pretty high-profile Google products. April 2nd was the end of both Google Inbox, which was an email client that Google claimed would change the way you dealt with your email, which either didn't live up to that claim or the claim was not interesting to people because they had some trouble getting a big adoption on that. And of course, the April 2nd was also the end of Google Plus, Google's third major attempt at social network. What? A social network. Without that A in there, that sentence didn't make any sense. Anyway, their third big push into a full-featured social networking site. And so that brought me to think about this year. And in the first 91 days of the year, Google has shut down 11 high-profile products or services under their brand, including smaller things like YouTube annotations, which had never worked on mobile and, were kind of a thing of the past. But a lot of publishers, including ourselves, had used annotations in the past, and everything that you had ever produced was gone, to super high-profile things like if this, then that support for Gmail, all gone this year. And so, like Avram and I were saying, it makes you worry a little bit. Is in this particular case, is Google's image that of like a big innovator, or is it one of running a lot of failed experiments? And if that's the case, it makes you worry about putting, investing your time and or resources into a platform just to have it go, the way of the Harman Kardon Invoke or Google Inbox or Google Plus, which people put a lot of time and resources into just to have it vanish.
Yep. There seems to be just a lot of stuff that, I guess the thing with Google Plus is, by the way, I'm probably the only person who's a little sad Google Plus is gone. I liked Google Plus when it started, but obviously after it became a punchline, I'm still not really sure why it became a punchline. It basically had the same functionality as Facebook.
Yeah.
So I don't know why people disliked it so much.
I don't know necessarily that people disliked it. I think after Wave and the other one whose name I can't remember, where they exposed a whole lot of information and that woman got beat up by her ex-husband because when Google set up, when they announced the product, they connected people that they shouldn't have automatically. And I think people were already weary at that point of Google's attempt at social media because it had been problematic for people in the past. But from a like a feature set standpoint and everything, I'm with you. I liked Google Plus. I thought it was, I thought it had especially early on, I thought it had a lot of potential. But then when Google started to get heavy-handed with it, I think is when people really lost interest. The forced integration into YouTube, the fact that to be able to write a review of a product in the Google Play Store, you had to have a Google Plus account, but not everybody did. So that heavy-handed attitude, I think, is where a lot of the jokes started to come from. But
yeah, I think they were lacking what what has made Twitter and originally made Facebook and now made certain messaging apps cool, is like, oh, okay, they need the influencers to use this product. They need influential people to get on the product and bolster the product.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, if they could have only had Kylie Jenner or somebody use Google, pay them to use Google Plus, then it would have taken off, because there's really, like, they just didn't come off. It came off as stodgy, not cool.
Yeah.
But
it came across more like LinkedIn than anything. You know what I mean? It came across more like a place for suits and ties after a while, and not like a fun place to hang out. Despite all the colors and everything that they tried to put into it, it never came across like the fun place to hang out.
Right, and I'm not really even sure why. It didn't, but I'm not sure why.
I don't know. Especially with a feature called Hangouts.
It's true. I'm really not. I'm not sure why. I mean, I know that Google is a big company and Facebook is a big company and Amazon, but I trust Google a little bit more with my data and stuff than I trust Facebook. I mean, obviously they've had their own security problems, but at least it's
including on Google Plus.
Potentially integrate. Yes, at least it's potentially integrate with, with services that I already use, like my Gmail.
Right.
But
it's an interesting statement that you made. I have to go evaluate for myself whether I trust Google or Facebook more.
I mean, not to say you should trust either one of them, but for example, I trust Google more than Amazon for their assistant. Like, I feel like, maybe this is wrong, but I feel like because Amazon is born as and primarily a store, that I feel like that their handling of my data would be different than Google, which has been very much like an information service that I use for docs and Gmail and things like that. But maybe I'm wrong there. I don't know.
That's not what they were born of, though. They were born of a service of collecting data to show you ads. So
no, yes, that's true. I don't know. It just seems like
both companies are really good at showing targeted ads. I think is a good takeaway there.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're both. Who knows? They're all getting breached. But MySpace got a breach, right? They deleted a whole bunch of music, didn't they, recently?
12 years worth, and nobody noticed.
And they're still going strong. So
yeah, all 18 people who were there before the data loss are still there today.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes you wonder how many old social networks are still going.
Indeed.
Is Friendster still around?
And no, they got bought by somebody. That's the only one I can tell you. They got bought by somebody. You would think that if the influencer concept was 100%, then wouldn't MySpace be a huge success since it's owned by Justin Timberlake? I just He's
not that influential.
I had to throw that out there because the fact that he put money into that has just amazed me.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess wasn't he in the Social Network movie?
Uh-huh.
Justin Timberlake?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so maybe he wanted to like participate in real life, and that was the best he could do.
Possibly. Anyway,
I just want to
go ahead.
I just want to point out that, Tripod, which you might have considered a social network of sorts, since it still exists.
Yes, indeed.
Sort of. You use it to build a business website.
Yeah, they took the WYSIWYG editor and put it for domains now, I think. But yeah, it's amazing to think that thing still exists. I was trying to see who bought Friendster. I can't remember. Oh, they only dissolved it in June of last year. Yikes. Terrifying. Founded in 2002, just in case you're curious. Anyway, so if you had invested in Friendster, time and resources, you had a 17-year run. That's not bad. To bring us back to our topic here.
I mean, that's the thing is, unfortunately, that's the problem with having software that is running in the cloud.
Yeah. Software as a service.
You can invest a lot of it. When the service goes away, so does your software. But I mean, at least in the case of Google Plus, I don't think anybody actually paid any membership fees. Now they may have spent time on developing stuff there,
right?
So
building a following and all of that.
There's a lot of things. Yes, but at least they didn't have to pay Google actual money or buy a piece of hardware that requires Google Plus.
Yeah.
Or things like that.
Right, as opposed to what we were talking about earlier, the HomePod, the Harman Kardon Invoke, things like that, where, but that's one of the things here that I mentioned earlier. That's one of the things here. Several of these things that they've shut down this year have literally had no transition plan. Some of them have, with Inbox, you have the Gmail client. It's not like you don't have access to email. In fact, if you've got an Android phone, you've still got your Android email client too, if you want to use that, but things like annotations on YouTube, well, that capability was just bloop gone. And people had invested time and possibly money into getting the annotations right over the years just to have it go away. So, having a transition plan, I think, makes it feel less like a gut punch, right? Like, if Microsoft were to shut down Cortana, we know that Alexa would just bloop, pop into her place. It's pretty clear that that's their intention, if they were to give up on that. But on the other hand, we were talking earlier with Siri, there'd be no transition plan. If they did concede on that, those HomePods would just be a $400 Bluetooth speaker. And not even great at that, from what I understand. So, it sucks to invest a lot of time into a platform just to have it disappear. You can read about my anger at that dating back a very long time to when EA shut down Playfish. So and games disappeared out from under us. So it's not new. It's not the beginning. It's not the end. And I think, like Avram said, it's just living in a software as a service world. This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. In addition to your free shipping, you get a lot of other benefits as well, including Prime Audio, which gives you several million tracks of music available for free. There's Avram's favorite, Prime Video, which has TV, movies, documentaries, both original and licensed content available as part of your Prime subscription. There's my favorite, which is Twitch Prime, which gives you one free subscription on Twitch every month, which you can use to subscribe to PLUGHITZ Live or any other of your favorite Twitch broadcasters. You also get free games every month, which is the place where I get excited. You also get, right now they're doing a free year of Switch Online for the Nintendo Switch if you're a Prime subscriber. So we have links to all of our favorite features and a whole lot more. Plus, if you're not currently a Prime subscriber and you'd like to try it out for yourself, we have a link for a free 30-day trial, all by going to f5live.tv/prime. So, speaking of streaming services, we have talked a lot about subscriber fatigue over the last, let's say, 6 months. And obviously, we're not the only ones to talk about it, and we're not the only ones to be feeling it. And that is evidenced by a lawsuit against AT&T this week that is seeking class action certification, claiming that AT&T blatantly lied about the success of DirecTV Now, one of their several streaming services, which was the no satellite dish required DirecTV option for cord cutters. And AT&T had claimed, especially in particular when they were closing the deal for Time Warner, they claimed that DirecTV as a brand was doing just fine because DirecTV Now was gaining enough subscribers to offset the loss in traditional DirecTV needs a satellite pointed at the sky subscriptions, which were on the downslope. They claimed that DirecTV Now was making up for that. As it turns out, nope. In fact, as they were making that claim, DirecTV Now was seeing a massive decline in subscribers because many people subscribed early on when AT&T and DirecTV ran a big promotion. You might remember that they were giving it for $10 a month for the first year. Well, after that first year, when it went to like $30 a month, most people bounced out. And AT&T did not take that into consideration when they claimed service is doing great. And so that was part of how they got approval from the board to make the Time Warner purchase, which was not true. So lots of people, a lot of investors, stockholders in both AT&T and in Time Warner got screwed on that when the news broke that they had just made those numbers up, and the AT&T stock price dropped 12% in one day. Oof. That is a huge drop, Avram. 12% in one day over a single announcement? Oof.
Yeah, well, I guess everybody should tell the truth.
And by law,
I mean, that's...
by law, public companies are required to, which is where this lawsuit comes from. You cannot, and if you need a great litmus test on that, just ask Elon Musk how it's going for him with his false tweet about taking Tesla private. The SEC currently owns him, and if this becomes a class action suit against AT&T, ooh, what has happened to Musk from the SEC is going to be nothing compared to what the stockholders are gonna do to AT&T here. My recommendation is if you have stock, you might not want to keep it because 12% is going to be nothing compared to what happens to the price if they lose this case. This is crazy to me. Did they think that nobody would ever find out? What do you think the case is here, Avram?
I think that whoever said that, I mean, are we sure everyone who said that's still with the company?
Oh yeah. It was the AT&T CEO, I believe, is the one who wrote it in the filing for Time Warner, and they're still there. I mean,
well, maybe they were looking for a quick. Maybe they thought they could get away with it.
It's the only thing I can figure is they thought they were going to get away with it, but boy, it doesn't seem like that's the kind of thing that stays quiet long. Especially with, like you said, how many people have left? Especially out of the Time Warner side of things. The idea that all of them were going to keep quiet forever, because once you're inside, you know what the numbers are. If you're the head of Time Warner, once you're inside of AT&T and you're starting to get merged with DirecTV into a single division, you know what the subscriber count on DirecTV now is. There's no way that number is going to stay quiet. The whole thing's crazy to me. The idea that anybody could have thought that was gonna work out in the end is beyond ridiculous, and I cannot wait to follow this story if it becomes a class action suit, because wow, it'll definitely be fascinating.
Yep. It is unfortunate for those investors.
Indeed. Well, that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live and sat through the weird technical problems we had tonight. If you did not join us live, that is okay. In the future, you can always join us on Sunday nights at about 9 p.m. Eastern by going to f5live.tv/join us, and there you'll see the live stream and the chat room where we love to hear from our fans. If you can't join us live, that is okay too. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows, not just F5 Live and the Piltch Point, but special events and first looks and all of that are all available there. And so you can subscribe however you'd like from there. And I guess on that note, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we will see you guys back in, I guess, next week. So, ciao.